bonjour. So, since we have already read it, I will read each sentence if everybody is ready, and we will discuss it. The para begins, these movements are indeed not always arranged in a strict succession to each other. So, I'll just remind you what these three movements are. The first movement is an effort to make a connection with the divine. You have to effort, and the effort consists of concentration and self offering to the divine. Whatever you are doing, whether you are eating or sleeping or any action, any thought, any emotion, give it always to the divine. And therefore, the most potent method is remembrance of the divine. Constantly remember the divine and offer and concentrate. So that's the first movement. Second movement.
This comes in Gita also, no?
Yes, Gita.
Yat karoshi, yat ashnasi, that part.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
That whatever you do, you offer to me.
Yeah, that's right. But it doesn't go beyond what Srindu is saying, the third level. The Gita does not go to that level because it stops at a.
Where does it stop? Where does it stop? That way?
Yeah, I'll tell you. It stops at don't see. There are three levels. The Buddhists say the physical world is permanently impure and imperfect and full of perversion and suffering. Give it up. Okay. The Gita says not necessary. Be in the physical world and offer everything that you have to the divine and don't get affected by this. Again, the beautiful image of the lotus leaf in water. Be in the world but never be affected by its imperfections. That means they accept that the physical world has got imperfections, and in a sense it is implied permanently imperfect. Srimdu's idea, he goes one more step up. He says that which you think is permanently imperfect in the physical world is not necessarily imperfect. There is a time sequence and there is an evolution, and slowly it is going towards the perfection of the divine. It's a very slow process, but there's an evolution. So we don't reject the physical world. On the contrary, we remain in the physical world and go even beyond what the Gita is saying. Yes, by all means, don't disappear into the infinite. Remain in the physical world and do the work and offer yourself. But Srimdos is start participating in God's work in the physical world. Become an instrument of the divine and do the work that he is telling you to do. Okay. One more step. And that is why the idea of the supermind is there. Okay. The supermind is going, there will be an evolution in the world, which there will be a race which will be far superior to man. Just as man is superior to the animal. This idea is not, it is hinted at, but not developed in the Gita. So he is going. Then there is Dilip Kumar Roy, who says, he tells Srimdo, you are going even beyond the Gita, which is the most holiest of holy texts, and you are going beyond the Gita. So Srimdo is to remind him that evolution, every ideal that you get, you have to always go beyond it. Otherwise, there is no meaning in perfection. And evolution, there is no meaning. So people always stick to the past. That's a very human trait. You feel comfortable with something that you know. With something that you don't know, you're not so comfortable. Okay. So, as you said, these movements are there in the Gita also, but Srimda goes beyond. So, the three movements. First one, you make an effort to connect with the divine. Second, you start seeing that the connection is bearing fruit, that you are being helped in peculiar situations. Whenever you ask for help, you see that it is coming. So, partially help and partial effort. This second stage. The third stage is no effort at all, because you have completely established the connection and the divine is sending you messages and even impulsions, and you are doing only what the divine is asking you to do. You don't do yourself. There is no more effort. You are absolutely at peace and calm. But you are working in the physical world. The Buddhists also get peace and calm, but they don't work in the physical world. They don't care for the body-mind life. But this is one aspect of Buddhism. There is another aspect of Buddhism you must also realize, that they have this sense of charity and compassion. Okay, so there is the Hinayana and the Mahayana. So that idea came later also in Buddhism. So it's wrong to say that Buddhism only wants escape from the physical world. It's not fully right. There are two stages. Okay, so the third stage, no effort at all. You become a perfect instrument of the divine, and you remain in the physical world and do his bidding. Okay, so that's what Sri Aurobindo did. He was asked to bring down the supermind, and he did that. He did that with mother's help. Okay, so these are the three movements. Now, I read this sentence. These movements are indeed not always or absolutely arranged in a strict succession to each other. He will explain. Okay, the second stage begins in part before the first is completed. Obviously, okay. The first is only effort. The second, but your effort also very often starts with a touch of the Supreme. So the touch has already come. So second is beginning before the first is completed. Then he says the first continues in part until the second is perfected. Your effort goes on, and the second, when the second gets perfected, you have become absolutely a perfect instrument of the divine. The last divine working can manifest from time to time as a promise before it is finally settled and normal to the nature. In other words, you can get fantastic experiences. You may experience power, you may experience ananda, you may experience a vast peace and consciousness. All these things come once in a while. As soon as there is a possibility of your consciousness receiving these things, you will receive them. So it's a mixture of the three movements. But for clarity's sake, he's saying there are three movements, but they are not necessarily sequential. They don't come one after the other. They can interlap and overlap. That's what he's saying. Okay? Then I go to the next one. Always too, there is something higher and greater than the individual which leads him even in his personal labor and endeavor. When you are also making an effort, after a long time, you will feel that you are being helped. Okay? That famous example is there of that person who is walking and his footsteps are on the shore of the sandy shore, and he says, yeah, you remember that story?
Yeah. You didn't carry, you carried me at that time.
Yeah, that's right. That is the story. So they are always, his help is always there. Sometimes we don't feel it, but he's always there. Any sincere prayer is always answered. It is not like human beings. I talk to somebody, but he is busy with something else and he doesn't respond to me. It's not like that, because the divine is there everywhere. So he is always listening to you. So he is always listening to you. I remember one very interesting thing. I was once in Chennai for work, and I had put up at a hotel in Cathedral Street. It is a Christian organization, and there was a Bible on each table. So at night after my work, I was there in the room and I started looking at that. And I came across one passage which said, "Oh Lord, I am praying to you, but are you listening to me?" Okay, but then immediately it struck me that the divine is always listening and sending out an answer, but you are deaf, you are not receiving. So in the second stage, you start receiving also. You start hearing what the divine is telling you. Okay, so that's what I'm saying here. Always too, there is something greater and greater than the individual which leads him even in his personal labor and endeavor. The help is always there. Often he may become and remain for a time wholly conscious. You can become absolutely conscious, not half conscious, but wholly conscious. Even in parts of his being, permanently conscious of this greater leading behind the veil, and that may happen long before his whole nature has been purified in all its parts from the lower indirect control. The lower indirect control is normally your body and your vital. The vital is it doesn't change as easily as the mind. Okay, so the mind can become fully conscious that the divine is helping you. But the lower vital, with all its desires and attachments, always resists. That's the thing. Lower indirect control. Even he may be thus conscious from the beginning. The divine is helping me. Depends on how much you have progressed in your previous lives. So sometimes you can be very, very conscious even from the beginning. So I'm saying his mind and heart, if not his other members, okay, may respond to its seizing and penetrating guidance with a certain initial completeness from the very first steps of the yoga. That's what happened to Sri Aurobindo, na? Right from the beginning, even when he's not interested in yoga, he is coming to Pondicherry, India, and he steps on the Apollo Bandar and he gets peace. Then later on, he is helped in Baroda also in so many ways. He goes to Kashmir and he has the experience of the vacant infinite. Constantly it is coming. Okay, so the help is there always, not to everybody. The help is there for everybody, but it is our density and lack of sensitivity that does not allow us to realize that the help is there. But the more we become pure, we realize that the help is always there. Okay? That's with a certain initial completeness from the very first step of yoga. But it is the constant and complete and uniform action of the great direct control that more and more distinguishes the transitional stage as it proceeds and draws to a close. The transitional stage is the second stage where you are making an effort and the help is you are very clearly seeing the help also. Final stage, no effort because you are fully conscious of the divine guiding you. Okay. This predominance of a greater diviner leading, not personal to ourselves, indicates the nature's increasing ripeness for a total spiritual transformation. Note the phrase, not personal to ourselves, because the divine help is there for everybody. Like the lighthouse which is emitting light and any ship can take advantage of it. Okay? It's like that. It is there everywhere. It is always there. It's not that the divine is helping you in a personal way. Of course, you feel it as personal, but it is always impersonal. It's a vast, universal help coming all the time. This predominance of a greater divine leading, not personal to ourselves, indicates the nature's increasing ripeness for a total spiritual transformation. Now you are ready for total spiritual transformation. That means your entire being will be divinized and you will be an instrument of the divine. It is the unmistakable sign that the self-consecration has not only been accepted in principle but is fulfilled in act and power. Note the words in act and power, because mostly when you are experience the divine in the beginning, it is not in act and power. It is not in your body and your actions. You are aware only of the higher planes of consciousness. When your consciousness is rising above, you see that, oh, the help is there. But when you come down into your body mind life again and you try to do what you have learned at the higher level, you find it difficult. So that is the light and power. Sripra is constantly harping on this with different words. Okay, I remind you again of his letter to Mother. The heavens we have conquered, but not yet the earth. Okay, remember that very interesting sentence which he wrote to Mother. The heavens we have conquered. The consciousness when it is at the higher level, I'm fully conscious of what the truth is. But when I'm in my body-mind life, there's a resistance from the body and the vital. Okay, it is still not. I'm not being able to execute that truth in the physical world. You know that a desire should be thrown out, but the desire will have the last say, and you will continue to have to try and satisfy your desires. That's what he's saying. Not in his case, but in most cases. Okay. So when he's saying the word light and where is it gone? In act and power. In act and power, he means that even your body and vital are participating in the divine guidance. Okay. Then the last one, the Supreme has laid his luminous hand upon a chosen human vessel of his miraculous light and power and ananda. Now, you should not misunderstand chosen human being, chosen human vessel. Does it mean that the divine is choosing whom he likes and he rejects others? It's not like that. Because remember that famous sentence, one who chooses the infinite.
This is the divine.
Yeah, he is chosen by the infinite. So the more you open yourself, the more he is going to help you. And this help is universal, it's there everywhere. Okay, so that completes the chapter on self-consecration. Now, the next one, self-surrender in works, the way of the Gita. So, I will explain in this chapter the Gita's gospel of works and how Karma Yoga is to be done. Remember that Karma Yoga, Sri Aurobindo says, the best exposition of Karma Yoga is in the Gita. There is no better Karma Yoga except in the Gita. But people say Gita is only Karma Yoga. Sri Aurobindo says no, not at all. Gita also recommends Bhakti. It also recommends Jnana. All the methods are there in it. So, we go to the next chapter, chapter 3, self-surrender in works. There can be self-surrender in emotion, there can be self-surrender also in thought. But this section is on Karma Yoga as applicable to the integral yoga. So, we start reading, okay, not a very big para, but so I'll just point out a few things. He's saying, life, that means the physical world, when I'm living life in my body-mind life, not a remote, silent or high uplifted ecstatic beyond. Okay, the ecstatic beyond is heaven. In the Christian theory, when the kingdom come, God, okay, or judgment day, you are decided you have to go here or there. If you have done well, you go to heaven. If you have not done well, you go to hell. Okay, that idea is not there, but in the Islamic idea, yes, you go to heaven and enjoy all the physical benefits. And that's the funny part. Okay, the physical benefits that you want to enjoy here, you will get there in heaven. But they're saying not at all. Even our the Vaishnava philosophy also, there's an Ananda plane. You can go there, but not here. Okay, not a remote, silent, and high uplifted ecstatic beyond. Now, Yasmin, note beyond life, there's a dash. Okay, it's a dash. It's not a hyphen. So, if it was a hyphen, you would have read beyond life. Okay, but it is ending there. So, what he's saying is life, not a remote, silent, or high uplifted ecstatic beyond, but life alone is the field of the yoga. Okay, you have to really like that. He is insisting on the life, that means the physical world. Okay, that is our field of yoga, not up there. Which the Jnana Yoga and the Bhakti Yoga, most of them are thinking that my consciousness has to rise there. But in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, that consciousness has to be brought down into your body-mind life. That's what he's insisting on the first sentence. Okay, beyond life, be. So you stop there. Life, not a remote, silent, or high uplifted ecstatic beyond, but life alone is the field of our yoga. Okay, the transformation of our superficial, narrow, fragmentary human way of thinking, seeing, feeling, okay, and being into a deep and wide spiritual consciousness and an integrated inner and outer existence and of our ordinary human living into the divine way of life must be its central purpose. He is constantly saying that you have to include everything. Okay, he is not, and it integrated inner and outer existence. Inner existence, most of the yogas want inner existence. But Sri Aurobindo is saying no, outer existence also. All your actions in the physical world. Okay, you are eating, you are sleeping, you are playing, you are doing your work. All that also has to be divinized. That's the central purpose. The stress is on the central purpose. The means towards the supreme end is a self-giving of all our nature to the divine. And your nature is body, mind, life. So you have to give that. In the other yogas, only the mind. You are doing only the mind or maximum the heart, the higher vital, but not the lower vital and the body. Okay. The means towards the supreme end is a self-giving of all our nature to the divine. Everything must be given to the divine within us, to the universal all. So the divine within you is the individual divine. To the universal all, the cosmic divine. He is there everywhere, and you can also, there are many people who experience the cosmic divine first, and that is called pantheism. Okay, you see the divine in the physical world, not elsewhere, or to the transcendent supreme. So Srimda wants you to do all the three. The divine within you by bhakti, the divine universal all by cosmic consciousness. To the transcendent supreme, go beyond everything and become absolutely calm and quiet. So all the three ways he wants you to experience the divine. How do you do it? An absolute concentration of our will, our heart and our thought. So these are all your entire being. The will, your heart and your thought. He is not including the body so much, okay, because that's very, very difficult. That will be left further later, okay. So the thought is the highest, the heart is slightly lower than the thought, and the will is also there. The will is there everywhere actually. Okay? The real will is in the psychic being. Okay? That has to be there. On
But
that
Ranganath, the will doesn't say about the body then here?
there is a will in the body also. That's your question, huh?
Yes.
Yes, there is a will everywhere. No? There can be a mental will, there can be a vital will. Yeah. But the real will, which really is effective, is in the psychic.
No, here he is talking about heart and thought, means mind and heart, mind. The triple yogas, the jnana yoga, karma yoga. So will doesn't denote the karma yoga here.
It's not very clearly defined, and it's not a cut and dried thing. The will can be there everywhere. No? But as I said, the will is the real will. In the psychic component, there is absolutely a unmistakable will that occurs. But the will is there everywhere. There is will, mental will, there is a vital will. There is even a body will. Huh? Athletes use the body will. Huh? They push the body. Okay, so all an absolute concentration of our will, our heart, and our thought on that one and manifold divine. Now look at that, on the one and manifold divine, manifold in the universe. Okay, the one either transcendent or within you. An unreserved self-consecration of our whole being to the divine alone. This is the decisive movement, the turning of the ego to that which is infinitely greater than itself. It's self-giving and indispensable surrender. If you want a divine consciousness in the physical world, this indispensable surrender is indispensable. Otherwise, it is not. You don't need to surrender fully if you want to experience the divine transcendentally. You don't bother about the bottom line life. But Srimda is saying right at the beginning, he has told you, life itself is our aim. We want the divine consciousness in life, not above, in a remote heaven. Okay? So, self-surrender, absolutely essential. Surrender is not easy. It's very, very difficult. Okay. So, we go to the next para. The life of the human.
Can I read?
Yeah, read.
Harry?
Yeah.
The life,
The life
of the human,
creature,
the life
as
of the
it is
human creature.
ordinarily lived, is composed of a half-fixed, half-fluid mass of very imperfectly ruled thoughts, perceptions, sensations, emotions, desires, enjoyments, acts, mostly customary and self-repeating, in part only dynamic and self-developing, but all centered around a superficial ego. The sum of movement of these activities eventuates in an internal growth which is partly visible and operative in this life, partly a seed of progress in lives hereafter. This growth of the conscious being, an expansion, an increasing self expression, a more and more harmonized development of his constituent members is the whole meaning and all the pith of human existence. It is for this meaningful development of consciousness by thought, will, emotion, desire, action, and experience, leading in the end to a supreme divine self discovery, that man, the mental being, has entered into the material body. All the rest is either auxiliary and subordinate or accidental and otiose. That only matters which sustains and helps the evolution of his nature and the growth, or rather the progressive unfolding and discovery of his self and spirit.
Okay, so this is not a very complimentary description of what the normal human being is. Okay, he's he's not absolutely like an animal, but he is all half developed. The life of the human creature as it is ordinarily lived. He's not talking of yogis, he's talking of the ordinary human being. Is composed of a half fixed, half fluid mass of very imperfectly ruled thoughts. Ruled thoughts. We don't control our thoughts. When the thought is ruled, it is controlled. Observe? That also is not fully controlled. In fact, the mind is runs away on its own. We don't. It goes on jumping from one thought to another thought without any even sequence. Okay, it goes like that. Okay. Only time when there is some sort of rule of thought is when you are concentrating on something and you are trying to solve a problem. Then logic, when logic comes in, your thoughts are being ruled to a certain extent. Otherwise, they are not controlled at all. They control you rather. Perceptions, sensations, emotions, desires, enjoyments, acts mostly customary and self-repeating. Acts mostly customary, eating, sleeping, okay, these are the customary acts, and self-repeating. Our sleeping and eating also is all self-repeating, okay. Srivamda uses very wide words, but you have to understand what he's saying. Our acts are mostly customary, that is what he's saying, and self-repeating. They go on repeating, eating and sleeping. In part only dynamic and self-developing. In other words, all that we are doing, all these things, they are dynamic, means they help to grow, okay, but not only, in part only dynamic. Some of what you are doing helps you to grow, but not everything. Much of it is just froth and fume, okay. Froth, yeah, foam. Okay, so they wasted effort. So, and then he's saying, but all centered around a superficial ego. Whereas in the yoga, it should be centered around the psychic being, but it's superficial ego. And then what happens? He's telling you, the sum of movement of all these activities eventuates. He's using it as a verb. Eventuates means ends in. Eventually, it ends in, results in. Okay, in an internal growth, which is partly visible and operative in this life. When you are a small child and you are being educated, naturally you grow to a certain extent. So it is partly visible. What you wear when you are a child, you are not now when you are an adult. Okay? You can see your growth easily. Partly visible, and he is saying partly visible, operative in this life. You can use the knowledge that you have got, partly a seed of progress in lives hereafter. So some of it, your effort here will bear fruit only in your next life. That's what he's saying. All your effort may not be seen in this life. It is reserved for next life.
Rangana, I have a question.
Yeah, tell me.
When he says a seed of progress, does it mean, is he implying karma?
That this what he is described here is all your karma. Okay. Your actions, your perceptions, your sensations, whatever you are doing in the physical world, karma, that's right, is adding to some growth in this life itself, and much of it is reserved for result and fruition in the next life. So that is how you grow. Whatever you have done in your past life will help you in this life. Okay.
Yes.
Everything is not seen immediately in this life itself. Okay. So
That is why we sometimes think, no, this person has not done anything wrong in this life. You have seen, but then it is coming from past lives that.
yes, yes, it's definitely a connection. Whatever you have done in your past life, to those who have the subtle sight, they will be able to see that. Yes, it does help. In fact, that is how growth occurs. All the good deeds that you've done, all the experience that you've got is reserved in the inner being and it finds expression in the outer.
Why is it not known to us? But
Because of our ignorance, because of our density, because of our imperfection. And why is the imperfection there? Because, again, we go back to that basic idea the divine himself is one and he is hiding himself in his opposite. The ignorance and the darkness is self-created. He is playing a game with himself. He wants to plunge himself into the opposite of what he is, and he is discovering himself again through all of you individually. Okay, he wants to enjoy the game infinitely. So that it's a
Hello.
yes. Tell me.
sometimes it feels very this thing, no? Sometimes you, when you are not conscious, it feels like why God is doing this to us.
Yes, that's right. That's right. But when you become more and more conscious, you realize that the darkness and the difficulties that you face are really encouragements. Okay? It is like when you are doing, say, high jump, you are given 1 meter 20. Okay, you jump easily. But the judges and others say, wait, you have done this very easily. Now we'll raise the bar. Okay, so now you do that. Okay, it's an incentive to you to progress. So all the difficulties that come are only incentives for you to become better and more perfect. You have to see the difficulties in that sense.
Yeah.
They are they are an
Hello.
yeah, tell me.
It is only the psychic being which withdraws and manifests from life to life. But what about the inner being? Because you said that the karma is also there in the inner being. So
Yes.
does the inner being also progress from life to life?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The inner mind also grows, the inner vital also grows, even your subtle physical also becomes purer and purer. And that is carried on to the next life. Definitely. All this thing together, okay, inner mind, inner life is called the intraconscient. It is that is carried over from life to life.
Oh,
Not the outer mind, not the outer vital, not the outer physical. They are dissolved. But there is a subtler body, a subtler vital, and a subtler mind, and they grow, of course.
but it is the psychic being which goes back to the psychic world and then comes back. But
Yes,
the intraconscient, like, where does it go?
it is.
Does that psychic being again take up that intraconscient and manifest on earth?
Yeah, the intraconscient is held in the psychic.
Oh,
It is
okay.
held in the psychic, na? We
Okay.
always think in terms of geographical locations, but remember that these subtle worlds, there are no locations. It's all for our clarity of thought. We think of locations, okay, of geographical space, but in the subtler worlds, it's not really like that. Otherwise, tell me, how can the divine be there everywhere? Okay. It's like, again, we come back to that interesting image of the salt. Okay, the salt is one small grain of salt is very clearly individual. It has got a shape, it's got color, form, shape, and all. Okay, but when you put that into water, what happens? The shape disappears, the color disappears, the weight disappears, but the salt is there everywhere. Okay, it's exactly like that. The divine is there everywhere. The essence of the divine is there everywhere. So similarly also, all your growth also is held. All this is held in the psychic being, the intraconscious. Okay, so this is what he's saying, that partly whatever you are doing, it helps to progress, but much of it is just, as I said, froth and foam. And not really, unless you are very, very concentrated in your efforts, okay, and meaningful, then you progress. This growth of the conscious being, I'm reading the next sentence. This growth of the conscious being, an expansion, an increasing self-expression, a more and more harmonized development of his constituent members is the whole meaning and all the pith of human existence. The word pith is the innermost part of the stem of a branch or a flower or whatever. So you can take the word pith as essence, the essential part of something, the core of something. Okay, it's the meaning. So what is the pith and core of self-existence? Growth. Growth of what? Growth of your consciousness, mental consciousness, growth of your emotional being, growth of your psychic being. Psychic also grows. So that's the essential part of this human existence. That's what it's saying. So all that you do is helping you partly to store experience and grow, and much of what you do, unfortunately, not really helping you much, is just wasted labor. Okay, diluted labor. But the more you concentrate yourself and have purposeful meaning and action, the work that you are doing will help you in your next life. It is for this meaningful development of consciousness by thought, will, emotion, desire. Note, even desire is actually a help. Action and experience, leading in the end to a supreme divine self-discovery that man, the mental being, has entered into the material body. So, this is the purpose of life in the physical world, growth. Growth is the purpose of life in the physical world. And everything that you are doing can help you, including desire. Note interestingly that desire at the lower level is essential. If you don't have desires, you will not be pushed to do certain things. Your tamasic attitude, you have a body which corresponds to matter, which is tamas. No action, actionlessness. But if you want to become active, there has to be a motive for that, and that desire is the one that pushes you. And that's why hunger is one of the main, hunger and sleep, okay? So that is what pushes you to action. Not sleep so much, but food. You seek food, okay? So desire is very essential to shake you out of your tamas. So, but afterwards that desire must become not desire for limited things, but for the infinite. That's the thing. Everything helps you, okay? So he is listing it actually: thought, will, emotion, desire, action. Even your action, every action that you do is going to help you. It's going to give you knowledge. You may do wrong action, you learn something. You do right action, you learn something. And experience, leading in the end to a supreme divine self-discovery that man, the mental being, has entered into the material body. So the whole purpose of life in the physical body is growth. Growth of what? Growth of consciousness. Growth of consciousness in thought, in vital, and even in the subtle body. Okay, even purer. So all the rest is either auxiliary. Auxiliary means additional, extra, okay, and subordinate, or accidental and otiose. Otiose, futile, superfluous, without function. That only matters which sustains and helps the evolution of his nature and the growth, or rather the progressive unfolding and discovery of his self and spirit. So, what is this growth? He is telling you what the growth is. It's the progressive unfolding and discovery of his self and spirit. You have to realize your psychic being, which is a real part of you. The rest is all clothing. At the end of every life, your clothes are thrown out. And your clothes are body, mind, life. This idea is there everywhere, okay? Your body, mind, life are only clothes. In the Gita, very clearly it says, every life that you have, like you throw out worn out clothes, okay, and put on new clothes. The new clothes are a new body, new life, new mind. I remind you of a very interesting image in the stories of Krishna and the gopis. Who are the gopis? The individual souls. Who is Krishna? The divine being. And what is the divine? Krishna is often shown as mischievous and playing all sorts of tricks. Okay, and but it's all symbolic. In one image, in one story, the gopis are bathing in the river, and what do? He steals their clothes and sits on a tree. Now, this is so obviously symbolic. So, what he is saying is, get rid of your clothes of body, mind, life and come to me with your consciousness. That's the symbol, so clearly. And what is the symbol? Because he's sitting on a tree. He's not sitting under the tree, he's sitting on the tree. Come to a higher level of consciousness without your body, mind, life. Okay, so that is the symbol. So, clothes, these are all clothes, audios, useless. Okay, you have to discover your real being. Okay, 29. We have got 6 minutes. So, shall we read one more para?
Yes,
I
please.
will
Yeah, please. The aim set before yoga, our yoga.
the aim set before our yoga is nothing less than to hasten the supreme object of our existence here. Its process leaves behind the ordinary, tardy method of slow and confused growth through the evolution of nature. For the natural evolution is at its best an uncertain growth under cover, partly by the pressure of the environment, partly by a groping education, and an ill lighted purposeful effort, and only partially illumined and half automatic use of opportunities with many blunders and lapses and relapses. A great portion of it is made up of apparent accidents and circumstances and vicissitudes, though veiling a secret divine intervention and guidance. In yoga, we replace this confused, crooked crab motion by a rapid, conscious, and self directed evolution which is planned to carry us, as far as can be, in a straight line towards the goal that set before us. In a certain sense, it may be an error to speak of a goal anywhere in a progression which may well be infinite. Still, we can conceive of an immediate goal, an ulterior objective beyond our present achievement, towards which the soul in man can aspire. There lies before him the possibility of a new birth. There can be an ascent into a higher and wider plane of being, and its descent to transform his members. An enlarged and illumined consciousness is possible that shall make of him a liberated spirit and a perfected force. And if spread beyond the individual, it might even constitute a divine humanity or else a new, a supramental, and therefore a superhuman race. It is this new birth that we make our aim. A growth into a divine consciousness is the whole meaning of our yoga. An integral conversion to divinity, not only of the soul, but of all the parts of our nature.
Yeah. So, 8:32, we have got 3 minutes left. So, we have read it, and essentially, he's saying all yoga is meant only to realize who you really are, either the psychic being or the self. The self is above you, and the psychic being is within you. So, either of them you have to realize, and that is the purpose of yoga. And it is integral conversion, not like some of the other yogas, only mind, okay, and not body, mind, life. But he's saying integral conversion to divinity. Look, not only of the soul, but of all the parts of our nature. Parts of our nature, your mind, your vital, and your inner vital, higher vital, lower vital, as well as your body. Okay, all the parts of our nature. This is what he's saying. So we will read that. May I know who read just now?
Tarika.
Sarika.
Oh, I couldn't recognize your voice. Okay, so we stop here today. Now we got only 2 minutes. Unless there is some question here, I'll just stress some things. Okay, I'm reading the first sentence. The aim set before our yoga. So don't miss our yoga. He's not talking of any yoga. He's talking of the synthetic yoga. Okay, the synthetic yoga of the integral yoga. Our yoga. That one word changes everything. Okay, the other yogas will not necessarily follow what he is saying. They don't care for body mind life. Is nothing less than to hasten this supreme object of our existence. Again, another small word here. Okay, these two words that change the whole meaning of the sentence. Here means in the physical world, not above, not you have to do it here in the physical world. So you see how important each word is in Srinivada's context. You have to see very carefully, and each word has got a stress. So that's why we have to read this sentence like this. The aim set before our yoga is nothing less than to hasten the supreme object of our existence here in the physical world itself. Okay? Its process leaves behind the ordinary tardy method of slow and confused growth through the evolution of nature. We'll read it next time. It's already 8:34, 8:35. So we'll not be able to finish it, so we'll look at it. Basically, you begin with ignorance and you become absolutely a divine consciousness you have. That's the aim of yoga. Okay?
Okay.
Au revoir, everybody.
Au revoir, Ranganath. Merci.
Au revoir.
Bonjour.
Have a nice
Merci.